feel free to like be into
Relax.
it. Be dramatic.
I don't want to be too dramatic.
I have been told I'm dramatic by so many people in the last month.
Really?
I'm starting to question things.
In what context?
My cousins, my girlfriend, my masseuse. She tells me that
Your
every
masseuse?
time. Yes, my masseuse.
Okay.
And I think it's just because I make a lot of faces. Like I have a twitch. I have twitches throughout my entire body. I've always had them. I'm sure people have noticed them. Whatever. But like add that on top of like just being like very expressive with your face.
Yeah.
And then get a really hard deep tissue massage. Of course I'm gonna be dramatic, right? Like of course I'm dramatic.
But I find that interesting that your masseuse called you. That's an interesting way to describe.
Yeah, she kicks my ass. Anyway, Tina, it's so good to have you on the podcast. Welcome.
Thanks for having me. I'm very
How are
excited.
you today?
I'm pretty good.
Will you please say your last name for me?
Majorino.
Majorino.
Yeah.
See, I was like, I read it and I was like, that seems like, maybe it's from somewhere else. Like, is it Majorino?
Oh, you added some
and I was thinking to myself, like, if I say Majorino, I was like, that sounds like I really don't know what I'm talking about.
Really?
Like,
No, but
I was
that's right.
worried. I was like, I'm just going to ask her and
Yeah.
see what it's like.
Tina Majorino. Yeah. Yeah. I like my last name.
I love your last name.
It's really it's endless comedy when people try to pronounce it
Oh my God.
because they do the same thing. They get scared.
Majorino.
They like add letters.
Add letters.
Yeah, like I've gotten paychecks from work sometimes that says like Tina Margarine, and you're like, my last name is not Margarine.
Where's the toast?
Yeah.
Did you bring a knife to spread this?
Yeah. I don't know.
So I walked in the house the other day.
Yeah.
Like, what's today? Today's Tuesday, huh?
Today's Tuesday. There's a bug.
There's
Okay.
a bug.
Got it. I got it.
You got it. Good. I'm proud of you.
Thank
You
you.
did a great job.
Thank you.
Um,
That
So-
was dramatic.
I don't watch TV. Like,
Okay.
I don't watch TV. I think the only thing I've watched outside of like Friends and Family Guy for the last 10 years
Okay.
is like ridiculous action movies. I don't really have time to watch all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't keep up with all the famous actresses and actors and all that stuff. And so, I met you through Jer and, I got you I asked you to come on the podcast and you said, yeah, sure. I was like, oh, I'd do my research. Before I even did my research, I walk into my house like a day after and my TV is just on and I look and I was like, is that Tina?
Yeah.
And it's like Veronica Mars, like this show that I've seen 8,000 commercials for.
Oh
'Cause it's
yeah.
on Hulu now, right?
Yeah. But that was
I was in 2004.
You
wasn't it?
you sent me that screenshot
Yeah.
or whatever. That's from the movie.
From the
when
movie.
I had the mohawk.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
even know the show or this like person existed, this character existed. That's how out of the loop I am.
It's fine.
But I walked in, I was like, the fuck is that my next podcast? So I
Yes,
sent
it
you a
is.
picture. I was like, oh wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So then I went on and I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. She's done like everything.
Everything.
You got, I mean, your IMDb, is that what it is?
Yes.
Yeah. What does that stand for?
Is
You
it
know?
oh god.
International
Movie Database.
Database. That's what that is. It's like, what's the DB for?
Yep.
Anyway, I went on there and I was like, wow, you're an animal. You're an animal.
Thanks. I try.
So, your whole life,
My whole life.
how
Isn't that
old
weird?
were you for your first one? Your first gig, your first job?
I think I was 3. So yeah, I was 3. I did an Everready battery commercial,
Oh,
and then I actually started out singing and dancing though. Like that was how I got into it.
now was this your choice? Were your parents like, let's get her involved in stuff, or?
No, so they did not want me to be an actress. Nobody in my family is in the business. So I was like 2 and they used to play, I loved The Wizard of Oz, so I would watch it every day at the same time. And I'd be like, I want to do that. My mom's like, okay, she wants to do that. The baby wants to do that.
The baby wants to do
So
Oh my
she
God.
put me in this thing, in this like group where they sing, you sing. I think you danced too. Yeah, you sang, you danced, and then after a couple of months you do this huge performance that's like in front of 600 people or something. And my mom was like, this is just going to scare the shit out of her and she's never going to want to do it again.
Ooh.
So we did the performance and then I was like, can we do it tomorrow? And she's like, oh, we're screwed.
You're like,
Yeah.
she's like, we gave her it. We thought it's like, what do they give babies to stop crying?
A pacifier?
No, it's like when they put alcohol or some people have like different things they give babies.
In
They
the
like They put,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
alcohol.
yeah.
It's like they put the little alcohol, like, oh, stop your crying, but it's like, you're like, give me the bottle.
Give me the bottle.
It's like, oh, shit,
going
we gave
deep.
it to her.
Yeah.
You know, my cousin, sorry, this is totally off topic. My cousin just told me a story yesterday. He said he went to a friend of ours' house.
Yeah.
You know, we're Armenians, so obviously the drinking comes very early. And he said that he was sitting at the table talking to the father, and the father called his 11-year-old daughter to come by.
Yeah.
He poured her a shot of Macallan 18 year. It's a $230 bottle. And he said, take a shot for daddy. Little girl took it and threw the whole thing back like it was nothing. I guess they started doing
God.
that when she was like super young, and they started getting her little sips as she got, as she grew up. I mean, that's not good. She's probably gonna have horrible problems, but isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
That's fucking nuts.
I couldn't do that.
I still, I don't think I have the heart to do that.
Yeah. a full oh my God. Wow. That's why. Yeah, it really does.
Anyway, down to the metaphorical alcohol.
Okay.
So you were hooked right away.
Yeah. What's interesting is that how I started out, now I have a lot of fear around it, like performing in front of people.
Really?
I have terrible stage fright.
But being in front of a camera.
It's not the same thing. People don't believe me. They're like, that doesn't make any sense that you have stage fright. But I feel like I'm more naturally like shy around people that I don't know unless I'm on a set. Like on a set, that is where I feel more at home on a set than I do at my house.
Well, do you think it's because
weird.
like you have like that job mentality, like
You
you can separate it, or
it just feels right to me. Like that's where I'm supposed to be. There's just something that clicks. Like I'm the best version of myself when I'm at work. But like when it comes to being in front of people and performing, it's something I really want to get over, by the way. I just think when you're little, you're too naive
to know that
to know.
care,
Yeah, you're not thinking about like
you don't hate yourself enough yet.
yeah, you don't hate yourself enough, and you're not aware of how judgmental and shitty people are yet.
Yeah.
So you're just like, I love to sing, I love to dance, and
Everyone look at me.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think
That's the best part of kids.
yeah,
I mean, they can be annoying as shit. but
Totally.
No matter what they do, they're like, they think they're hot shit.
yeah, they own
They
it.
think, they think they're the best.
Yeah, they
I
own
need
it.
to get some of that.
Yeah, totally. But don't you feel like there are so many things from when I was young that I unlearned as I, if that's a word, as I got older, it just dissipated, and now I'm trying to reteach myself those things from childhood and that the whole performing thing. And it's a little less scary for me when I'm dancing because I danced for a really long time as an adult too, but the singing thing and like theater scares the shit out of me.
Really?
Yeah.
It's
There's
funny.
instant feedback.
Yeah, even on their faces. you know?
Yeah. And
But-
you can feel it. You can feel an energy too,
Oh,
which
yeah,
a lot of
especially
people
with
love.
people in a room. I mean, it's like this ultimate.
It's intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's I mean, not even just creative people or artists, just everyone. I feel like a lot of us at some point have to realize that we need to go back and relearn some childish things and unlearn a lot of what we learned in our teenage years.
Yeah, for sure. And it's so hard because now you have just a collection of issues that you have to work on because you're realizing like, oh, well, when I was a kid, I was so much more in that flow state and in alignment and just completely driven by passion and whatever made me feel great, whatever made me feel
didn't
joyful.
hesitate.
No, and you just jumped in full force, and now there's so much overthinking and overanalyzing and trepidation and fear and like all that stuff. I'm doing the same thing, trying to go back to how I approached things when I was little.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Well, it's incredible too because for as much as we put creative people with great talent on a pedestal, whether you're a musician, actress, whatever it is, someone that's great at what they do, we put them on a pedestal. For as much as we love and almost worship that kind of world,
Yeah.
our actual society and the world we live in is not catered for the people that are going to be the next version of those, the next Jimmy Page, the next Zeppelin, the next great whatever.
Yeah.
They're being raised right now in a world that's not catered for them to thrive.
Right.
So they're going to have to fight all this stuff just to get to that place to be this great creative person that we're going to someday say, oh, wow, you're amazing. What was your secret? I mean, what was my secret?
Yeah.
I had to go back and say, fuck you to everyone.
Yeah, that's true, though, because that's an interesting thing to think about, too, is because obviously, like, I didn't grow up with all the technology and social media in those formative years, like, when you're really, I guess when I was hyper-focused on learning acting and working that much and just being immersed in that world, like none of that shit was going on. You didn't have that distraction, and so it took me longer to build up insecurities, I would say.
That's one of the best statements ever. It took me longer to build up insecurities because I didn't have social media.
Yeah.
Wow.
So if you think about that now, like
That's
what you
incredible.
just said about the artists that are growing up now, and by the way, there will never be the next Led Zeppelin. Let's just put that on. Yeah. Okay.
Put a lid on that. Want to hear that shit again?
But like, I don't envy that journey at all. Yeah. I'm struggling enough as it is as an adult trying to navigate social media and life and work and all of that. And I've already sort of built my foundation of what it is that I want to do as an artist. So I can't imagine the struggle that is. Like, you can pay me to be a teenager right now.
Oh, God, no.
Right?
Yeah, like, I mean, how many generations, like, oh, I wish I was young again. It's
Fuck
like,
no.
What's crazy is, like, the people that would start saying, I wish I was young again, they're like, make me older, man.
Yeah.
Let me get this over with. Like, it's a terrible vibe that's going on with that.
Yeah. And like you said, like, the world at the moment is really not made for sensitive artist types.
I'm incredibly sensitive.
Same.
I'm an insanely sensitive human being.
Me too.
I'm emotionless, is what I hear.
You're emotionless?
I mean,
I don't find that. I mean, I know we've only hung out twice now, but
I'm expressive, but at the level of sensitivity I'm at,
yeah,
and the emotional expression I give, I'm emotionless. That's how sensitive I am. Like, I know I'm incredibly sensitive, but I also realize how that, it's true. It doesn't work in everyday life in the real world.
Yeah.
But isn't it funny how creative people, musicians, or I mean anybody, any art. I say musician because I'm the musician.
Yeah.
Creative people, even in a world that's not catered to them, that says you're going to be homeless or you can never make it, it's a 1 in a billion chance.
Yeah.
Still create at a massive level.
Yeah.
And this last year alone, the amount of music that's come out from bands you haven't heard from in years, the amount of great movies that are being made. People say, oh, this industry's dead, but these artists, they can't help it.
Yeah.
No matter what, no matter how much the world doesn't cater to them, they're not going to stop.
Yeah, and I think that's what separates a hobbyist from an artist, is because I'm a fucking mess when I can't create. When I don't have that outlet, or I don't feel like I'm expressing, I feel like I'm not making a contribution to the planet. Like, that's literally how it feels. It feels like, it just feels awful. So I think that's you were just talking about this before we started, but that really resonates with me, that it's a part of who you are. It's a part of your soul to be a musician or a writer or whatever, a creative person, is that it's something that you have to do, that nothing will get in the way of that. Yeah. And I think the difference is now, and this sort of feeds into the whole like social media stuff, is now I think kids don't understand that art is supposed to be for your soul and for the connection with other human beings. Now it's been monetized. I mean,
it's like it's always been monetized, but like now the expression is what photo am I gonna, what post am I gonna do to get me connected with people, and then I'll talk about what I care about. Yeah.
If they even, I mean,
if I get enough likes, I'll talk about what I care about, right?
Instead of just being authentic. I understand that it's scary too, though, because, I mean, like you were saying, but like you were saying, the world is catering to a very specific kind of person. It's not to somebody who wants to be vulnerable and connect and like do all this stuff. It has to be, we have to be able to promote that. And like, I see this a lot in the music industry too, is that they just get someone pretty and then fix their voice. And you're like, man.
Well, it's like that's always been like they've always been centered around an image, and
Yeah.
like, that's fine. And I think social media, with all its negative sides, has also the positive side to allow anybody to express themselves and
Totally.
get this like wider range of music coming out, and anybody
Yeah.
all the bedroom musicians to express themselves. It's just this. I mean, social media is my favorite place to go find new guitar players. I mean, if you saw how many guitar players I follow, it's
Really?
ridiculous. I just go on and look at guitar player after guitar player, people that are sitting in their bedroom that just fucking kick ass at guitar.
Yeah.
And I love that side of it. But I mean, the idea of promoting vulnerability and like how we don't cater to real vulnerability, but now you have all these motivational speakers, all these influencers, all these people talking about don't be afraid to be vulnerable, don't be like posting all this stuff, and then the next thing you know, they're selling their program. It's like they've literally taken this positive message, because what they're saying is very positive, and I agree with it.
Yeah.
And then they're upselling it with buy my next statement.
Buy my stuff. Yeah.
Which is fine. Everyone has to make a living.
Yeah.
But it's like the moment something like there's like this golden hour for everything. Like social media allowed a golden hour for everything.
Yeah.
There's like a moment of like, oh, all this expressive music, all these pages pay me to be promoted.
Yeah.
Oh, be vulnerable. All these people that made a fortune that want you to be successful and be happy with yourself, and then buy our program. It's like
Yeah.
there's such a short time for any new idea to have its real, like, authentic golden hour.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like the at least in my business too, is that we go through these weird cycles.
Yeah.
And the pendulum will swing all the way that way, and then it'll slowly come back the other way, and it just keeps doing that over and over again. So I've been doing it forever, and I've gone through several of these cycles.
Yeah.
But we're in one right now that's incredibly frustrating, because I feel like there are so many original artists that are writing incredible things that it doesn't fit the mold of like the successful schematic of like a rock movie. Well, if it's not that, then it's not going to make money, and we're not going to hire you. We're not going to make your movie or whatever. And if you read some of these stories, you'd be like, I would pay to go see that.
I need to see this movie.
Yeah. And it's a bummer. So hopefully, it always evens out, but it's in times like this that it's just incredibly frustrating. Not only as an artist, but also as a consumer, because you're like, I don't want to see the same shit over and over again.
I feel you on that.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. They talk about how no one goes to the movies anymore. I'm like, that's because look at the last like 5 years of movies that were released outside of like, there was like Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And like maybe one or two off action movies that even made, like there's John Wick and Marvel movies for all the
John Wick.
Yeah, I mean, I love both those things.
Yeah,
they were
same.
amazing. But outside of those, like,
Yeah.
You're not getting much. And then every movie that came out that had like this like deep kind of dialogue on the Quentin Tarantino feel to things, like this whole other side of the artistry, it's like people went to see it to say they saw it.
Yeah.
Like there was, I kind of lost the feeling like I don't want to go to the theater anymore. Like there's nothing to see. What do you mean? There's 40 movies out. I was like,
Is there?
But is there? Like I don't really click. I don't really click with any of them.
Yeah.
And
I'm not going to pay $80 to not click with something.
well, that's the thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I remember being even a teenager, and like there was every year there was like movie season. Like you knew there was a bunch of movies coming out this month, and they would preview like all these movies coming out in October. Boom, boom, boom. All these movies. I can't wait for October because all those movies are going to be great.
Yeah.
But like that's just, you don't get that anymore. You don't get that feeling anymore. And maybe it's because you can get movies on your laptop no matter where.
Well, that's the other thing, is that we're a society now of like instant gratification, and it's really taken away all the anticipation and the mystery that is a beautiful part of the whole process. Like there's magic in that, and we've sort of just taken it all away. So
speaking of the process, I want to jump back in your story because like I said, I went over your IMDb and I was like, oh my gosh, she's done it her whole life. So 3 years old was your first one.
Yeah.
What was your first movie?
my first movie was When a Man Loves a Woman.
When a Man Loves a Woman.
Yeah.
Oh, I know that movie.
It's with Meg Ryan and Andy Garcia.
I know exactly what you're talking
A
about.
very, very heavy movie. I loved that. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I saw you were in Waterworld.
Yep.
Every time I see that movie, I love Kevin Costner.
Really?
I don't know why. I love the guy.
He's great. He's great.
Everything about his vibe as a character, I'm just like, I love it. And then I'm like, oh, I love Waterworld. I love Kevin Costner. I was like, that's Tina as a little kid. I was like,
Yeah.
she's adorable.
Yeah,
It's like, how did I never put that together?
That's funny.
What's crazy, because like I'm looking, I'm like, I've seen you in so many things and never even put it together.
I kind of love that though.
Like it's still true, because I mean, I've probably told 5 people about this, you know, like, hey, my next podcast with this person, looked them up. They're like, I've seen her in everything. I didn't know that was her.
That's
I've heard
actually a huge compliment to
And
me,
why is that?
because I feel like that means that characters that I'm playing are not repeats. They're different. And so maybe I'm doing a good job at selling that. If you're not saying, "Oh, that's Tina."
Yeah.
You know.
It's like The Rock. You're not saying that's The Rock.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to not notice him.
But, I
though.
mean, yeah, that's a different story.
You have like a person that's about 2.5 people in one, you know.
For real though.
That's huge.
Yeah. It's out of control.
That's really, so it's almost like being unrecognizable almost says something to your actual acting skills.
That's how I look at it.
I love that.
And that I know that there are a lot of actors that don't like to watch themselves. They're like, "Oh, I can't," or whatever. This is going to sound so actory, but I'm going to say it anyway.
Actory?
Actory.
What a great word.
Yeah, I don't ever feel like I'm being myself, so it doesn't bother me to watch, because I'm not watching me be me. I'm watching me be somebody else. And so then I can be proactive about like, I actually really liked that moment, or I wish they would have used a different take from that day, or I can just be a lot further removed.
You can be Tina watching the character that Tina played.
And I don't really give a shit what I look like as a character. It has to be authentic for the character.
Yeah.
So it's not like I'm concerned with that either. You're just like, ooh, let's see if I actually
pulled it off.
Yeah.
I feel like you have an extremely healthy way of looking at this.
I kind of do. I feel like
I got to give you props to that, because I would never think in a million years that someone would have that mindset looking at it that way.
Really?
Well, because it's, you know, if you're in movies and you're in as many movies and TV shows as you've been in, like, you know, you have a level of fan, you have a level of like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
And to still look at it and not feel any weirdness about like, oh, I'm Tina, this great actress, or I'm Tina, this terrible actress, and have all these things, which just look like, how did I do my job? Like, it's almost like looking at, you know, look at this week's report. How did I do?
Yeah.
You know, to be able to look at something, especially creative, a product that you made creatively, and gave your heart and soul into, to step out and look at that, that's fucking impressive.
Thanks.
That's like that's like looking at, like, recording an entire album and looking at it completely objectively, and like not getting gushy over just, I need to have this one riff in there. Oh, we got to have that fill. Oh, it's this album shit because we left this one part out, you know?
Yeah.
About looking at it objectively, like, is this what it needs to be?
Right.
That's impressive.
I think I have really good parents, so they really hammered into me as a child, like, what was actually important, you know?
Yeah.
Your looks are not important. You know, what you bring to the table is how you treat other people, how you do your job. If you're, you know, and they knew very early on that I was an artist, and so it was all about like, well, be the best that you can at that. But going back to what we were talking about before too, is that
we should have recorded that.
We should have recorded that. It was good. I think that when you are creative and you're constantly stepping outside of yourself like that, it can create times in your personal life that are incredibly tumultuous, because you step outside of yourself that far to try to create this person for other people to interact with, so to speak, and then you lose yourself, sort of. So you're constantly like pretending to be someone else, and I feel like the struggle for me isn't like watching the movie after, or what the reviews are going to be, or what the ratings are going to be, or how much money it makes. It's always like, did I show up for work, and was it worth the work that I have to do now when I get home to get back in touch with like where I'm at as a person?
That's a great, I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. That was literally one of my next question. I want to talk about the psychology of getting into character.
Okay.
Like what you know, because you just said it's a lot to separate your Tina's personal life to whatever character you're playing, and you've played a gajillion characters over the last however many years, you know?
Yeah.
And you started at such a young age that a lot of the developmental okay, I was like, wait for it. Stages of life were going on at the same time as you getting into character.
Yeah.
You know, and here you are, functioning adults, already props to go through that, to pull that out.
God.
So with you, I mean, in your personal experience, the psychology of the character, like how do you go in and out of character? Like what's the process? What are your grounding techniques? Do you have rules to it? I mean, I want to know everything about that because that just, I mean, it fascinates me because you think about the Joker, the most infamous role
God,
in history. Every person that's played that role has been fucked.
Yeah.
Just messed up in the head. I mean, I remember hearing a story of Jack Nicholson sitting down with Heath Ledger
And saying, don't do it, right?
and saying, "Don't do it.
Yeah.
Be careful." What do you know? Like exactly the same thing happened,
Yeah.
and it has this infamous role, but it's like. You have to go there, and how do you get back? And like that's a dramatic example, but there's in a sense, but there's certain roles that can't take you there.
Right.
So for you, what's your process in getting in and out of character? What grounds you? What are your rules? I want to know the deep fucking version of this.
This is awesome. This is a great question. I don't think anybody's ever asked me that, by the way.
The fuck are people doing?
I don't know. There are certain roles that I won't do.
Okay.
If I read it and I'm like, this is going to take me. So okay. I might jump around a lot.
Do your thing.
There's a lot of stuff that I'm curious about and I'm intrigued about just as a human being. Again, we should have fucking recorded the beginning. But when we were talking about just needing to go there, feeling that pull to go there, whether it's going in some place that's really great or going to some place that's not, there is that pull in me that I'm like, I wonder what it's like to be that person. Mm-hmm. That's how I live my life anyway, which is dangerous in itself. But with roles, it's like I want to be challenged. I want to completely drown in someone else. Like my dream is to do a role where like you won't even recognize my face, where I have to completely change my hair, my body, like all of that sort of stuff, how you move, all of that is like, that's where it's at. That's like a juicy thing to bite into. However, if I read something and I'm like, I feel that pull, but I know that it'll pull too far, where I'm like, I'm going to have to kill a part of myself every day, that psychologically I'm uncertain if I can ever get it back. Just being in that mood every single day. There have been a lot of things that have been super humongous vehicles for other actresses that I said no to, that, industry people are like, well, you're fucking nuts that you didn't do that. But for me personally, those roles would have taken me too far away from myself. It crossed a line. So my version of acting, like I'm not method or anything. I don't know if you know anything about that, but that's like when people become their characters, that they don't let you call them their real name anymore, and like you have to call them the character name and all of that. Okay. Like Daniel Day-Lewis is a very famous method actor. I don't do that because I think that acting you should be able to, part of the challenge of it and part of the skill set is that when you go to work, you can be yourself as a human being and say hi to your crew and be lovely and, and then when they roll and they say action, you slip into that thing and then come out when you go home, For me, if I'm on a movie for 3 months, every day at the end of the day, I have something that I'll do at home that's something only for me. And I have little things like I carry a little stone with me sometimes if I have to do really emotional stuff and I feel like I'm going too deep into that, like carry it in my pocket. It reminds me like this is just pretend, kind of. You know what I mean? Like there are different things that I have a wild imagination, which is probably why I love what I do so much. But in saying that, once I'm in that flow, like I almost black out sometimes. I've done different films where I can't remember a week at a time because it's just I show up in the morning and I'm myself and slip into that character. You put on the clothes and you start thinking those thoughts, and then I have no idea what happens between action and cut. Wow. Absolutely no idea. So, but that's when you're in that sweet spot because you've completely abandoned yourself. You're just like, fuck it, I'm going in.
But you can come back.
Yeah. But there are things that if you are doing a film or a show that's on a really dark subject matter that you know, there are trigger points in it, not to sound like a complete millennial, but like there's triggering stuff for you personally in that.
Yeah.
Not a good idea. Like the whole Joker thing, that was heartbreaking to me because I think that he is one of the most talented actors of our generation.
I love him. I grew up watching him.
Right?
I mean, how many great roles did that guy play?
But he was so, I mean, not just he was brilliant in everything, and you could tell that he was such a good soul.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking. But it's interesting because I feel like this is where things can get tricky in the decision-making process, because a part like that puts you on the map, so to speak. You know what I mean?
I put him at the top.
Yeah. And he wasn't here to enjoy it, which is crazy. I mean, he won the Oscar for it after he passed away. But do you see what I'm saying? Is like there's a lot of heat behind roles like that, because it does take someone who is genuinely talented and dedicated to do something that great. But at what cost, you know? You have to surround yourself with really good people who are like, hey, I know that this seems really sexy, but if you don't think that you can come out the other side being the same person or a better version of who you are at home, don't do it. It's not worth it. So you can win an Oscar. So what?
Yeah.
If you're selling your soul for that, or you're losing a piece of your humanity to do that, then, you know, that's a different story.
So let me ask you something. Say a role comes across your desk one day and you read it and you realize, like, in your heart it says, Tina, this is the role you were born to play.
Mm-hmm.
But if you do this, you will never come back as yourself. Because I totally agree with what you're saying. I actually just had a friend of mine, Jake Rush, on a few episodes ago. He's a comedian, and he talked a lot about the creative process and being a creative human being, and how we have to realize that it's not just about being successful, that if our human has to be happy before our creative human can be successful.
That's true.
And that resonated with me because we have such a hard time separating that. So what you're talking about, I agree with a lot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that's really incredible, the way you go about it and how you're able to look at something and say, hey, is this going to hurt me? And you put yourself first.
Yeah.
As much as you want to do something, but you say, I need to be able to live my life.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing. Absolutely. But there's a high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
You know, at what point do you say, I'm being too easy on myself, I'm protecting myself too much, I need to lose a little bit of myself because this role needs to happen because I believe in this more than I believe in my own happiness? Not that you should, but
right.
like there's that point for everybody. And I'm curious as to someone that's so honed in as you, because I'm genuinely just so impressed. I am. Someone as honed in as you. Like, what have you ever hit a point where you're like, maybe I should have done this?
Luckily I have not hit a point where I've looked back on anything and been like, I shouldn't have turned that down.
Mm-hmm.
Because I knew where I was at when it came across my desk.
Wow.
And, you know, like I have my human struggles a lot. And if I was going through a rough time at that moment, which I was when a huge thing, you know, then I knew I was taking care of myself first. I think it's really... This is a big reason why I quit, because I quit acting when I was 14, like 13 or 14, because I was realizing that in order to make good business and artist decisions, I had to know who I was as a person, and I didn't. And I was surrounded by a lot of people.
You were 14?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you're amazing.
I was surrounded by all of these people that
14?
were, I mean, they couldn't even tell you what they liked. This is where I'm explaining it in the tone that my 13, 14-year-old self heard it as. Like, if you ask this person what kind of eggs they like, they wouldn't know. If you asked them the music that they like, they didn't know.
They know how to live a normal life, or their own life.
No, it was just always what other people were telling them. They were surrounded by a lot of money. I watched a lot of very young actors sort of start that journey into where you see a lot of them now, which is like, I feel terrible for them because they didn't have families that loved them and nurtured them as human beings. They were a paycheck for their families, and then they get all fucked up on drugs.
Do you think that's
and
the
stuff.
main difference between your childhood career and their career?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, fucked up things happen too. For me, it was just, I was raised by people who beat it into my head that I had to have a strong sense of self.
You had to be a person.
Yeah, and who they were also there and tried to protect me as best they could and keep me safe. And I wasn't paying their bills. It's completely different. The relationship was not, they didn't even want me to do it. They wanted me to be happy.
They were your parents.
Yeah. So it's like when my mom was on set with me, she wasn't, you know, well, you need to meet this person and you need to do this and we need to hang out with these people. It was just like, are you tired? You ready to go home? You know, let's put some rollerblades on and like go play. That was her big thing, is like keeping me a kid and keeping me real. But
Can
when
I
I
talk
was,
to your mom?
yeah, you
Can
should.
she come on and just like, can we talk about raising like a healthy artist?
She's so amazing. And like, I've only just now started to look back on my experiences and realize like how weird and what a true pillar of strength my mom was. Not that I didn't, it's just different being an adult and being at an age where like I could have a kid and what would I do, and it's just different. But looking back, she's just the best. And yeah, and my dad, and she's tough as shit too. Like, and my dad is just like this brilliant business dude that doesn't really fancy himself an artist, but he kind of is. He's a highly creative person too. But it was always about the work. It was never about what it could get them. It was never about the fame. Like, I didn't even know that I was famous when I was little until I quit. And then years later, I was like, oh, weird. Like, people knew who I was. That's so weird. I had no idea, because it was like, went to work, came home, went to school for a couple weeks, went back out on the road to work. But
your parents gave you very much a child's life.
Yeah.
As best as
they could. Yeah. But like, quitting at that age, I didn't want my first kiss to be on screen. I didn't want my first dance to be on screen. I didn't want it to be fake. Yeah. And I also wanted to be the best artist that I could be, and I knew that I can't bring anything to the table if I haven't experienced it. And maybe that's what that whole like going towards the really good and diving into the really bad to like investigate, and that curiosity, maybe
so
that's what that
your
is.
Arsenal as a creative.
Yeah. Because it drives me nuts whenever I go to someone and I'm like, this is happening in my life. What do? I don't know. Like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be able to connect with someone and say, tell me about what's going on with you. And I don't know if this is going to work for you, but I went through that, and this is what helped me. Is there, you know, that connectivity is what I've always been about. And I want to be somebody that has experience and knowledge, so that I'm not just saying lines to a camera. Wow. You know, there's stuff going on behind the eyes, and like, I know what that feels like. The whole point of me quitting for 4 years or whatever is so that I could do that and not become this person that was just a fucking workhorse, but not a human being, that didn't have their own opinions or their own experiences or their own feelings. Like, I didn't want to live the rest of my life saying someone else's words all the time, you know?
I mean, that's pretty incredible, though, because it's almost like you stepped away to become a human being that wanted to experience, because you want to connect.
Yeah.
And then in the meantime, realizing that this acting gig, this job, this whatever it is, whatever it felt like, you became so much more important, because now that you have the experiences, when you do play a role, when you choose to play a role, you're not just doing a great job. You're saying, I'm connecting with a massive amount of people because I know what this experience is like. Even if I have to play a different character, I can feel what this character is feeling, and they can feel that I feel that.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you watched great actors play a role and you're like, holy shit, that's really them.
Yeah.
They're in that moment. It's like, it's probably because they have what you're talking about, that life experience.
Yeah.
At least something close enough to it so that they can, feel inside of them.
Well, I think I think you don't have to have the exact experience. It's having that empathy.
Yeah.
Because somebody can also tell me an experience that they have, and for whatever reason, the way that my brain works, I can click into that very easily.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, so that must have felt like this. Yeah. That's what's really weird about human beings, is when they say, well, I don't know what that's like. And it's like, well, do you know what it feels like to be sad?
It's like, start there.
That's what that feels like.
Yeah.
You might not know exactly what another person is going through, which is why we try not to be judgmental pricks about everything, because you never know what somebody is going through or what the path looks like for them. But my favorite thing about my job is that in what other realm could I show up to a job every day and connect with that many people that I'll never meet in my life. Like you're interwoven into people's, like the fabric of people's lives in such a magical way that like I can't do that in any other way. I mean, this is what I love to do, obviously, but my favorite thing in the world is like I've struggled. I still struggle all the time. Music, movies, TV, books. I've had many of them save my life because somebody took the time to like shine a light on me. That's what it feels like. So when you click in with a role and you like really go at it, that's what you're doing. You're saying to people out there, like, I see you. You're not alone. Obviously, somebody's written a story about a person like you. Like, you're not invisible. Wow. And you don't have to feel that way. Like, that's the magical part of it. And I feel like I do that part for free. I get paid to deal with all the Hollywood bullshit that leads up to that moment, if that makes sense.
Wow.
And it's just a matter of maintaining that passion for it and not allowing the nonsense and the fluff that surrounds the business to, like, make you fall out of love with what you do.
That's beautiful. That's incredible.
Because it can.
Yeah.
You know, there have been a couple of experiences for me recently where I'm just like, why do I do this? You know?
Yeah.
But then you always go back to the why.
I can't tell you how many times in my life, I'm only 25, but
Yeah.
I couldn't even count how many times in my life where I put on a great song, or better yet, put on a movie.
Yeah.
And watched some absurd character, as a kid, testosterone, guy.
Yeah.
Put on an absurd movie, and somehow, no matter how hard my life was, like, I could escape in that movie, not because it was so far out of reality.
Right.
But because watching the experience of this character in this ridiculous reality,
Yeah.
I mean, and it just puts you at ease. It's releasing. It's freedom.
That's how I feel as a consumer too. And that's what I always try to remember whenever I'm creating anything is like, this is where it gets tricky with artists because what we were talking about with the social media and how, people are having to promote themselves and all this stuff. It's like, it really is about managing your relationship with the audience because it's not for the audience to know you. You're not on this trip for your ego. Like, does it feel nice to get accolades and get recognized because you're busting your ass to do something? Of course. But that's not what it's about. And you have to always come back to that and be careful that you are remembering that what it feels like for you to watch a movie and escape, and what it feels like for you to listen to a song, and how transformative those experiences can be, and how it makes you feel connected, how it makes you feel a part of something, or fills you with hope, or whatever. Or sometimes I watch movies and I just want to cry, so I'll just watch.
Teach me how to cry.
You don't know how to cry?
God, I fucking try
I'll
all the time.
teach you how to cry.
I try. Everyone that's listening, I know it sounds ridiculous, but if you know me, I try.
Yeah.
I can't cry. I think I just get angry. I get angry first.
We're the exact opposite, so this is super weird.
I hate it. Anger doesn't help anything. Crying,
that's not true.
It's just ugh.
That's not true, by the way. But
Not for me.
my anger thing is like, I'll get angry, and instead of going to angry, I go to sad, and I'll cry when I'm angry.
I feel like that's a much safer way to handle things.
Is it?
I don't know.
I mean, not for your heart, though, dude. It sucks.
Yeah, but I'd rather feel it intensely than put a wall around it.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing about...
Because great music can come from that, open, bleeding heart, right?
Yeah.
But I'd rather bleed and write from there than have to beat down these walls all day and then write something,
Yeah, it's hard. But that's part of the weird... cyclical fuckery of being a creative person.
I love that. Cyclical fuckery.
Cyclical fuckery.
That's beautifully said. I'm going to use that.
You should, because it really describes,
Yeah. Yeah, like dead on.
Like, you gotta feel to create, but then it sucks to feel.
Yeah.
And then
you lose yourself in this and
then
that.
you lose, and yeah, it's just all bananas.
Bananas. So you took a 4-year break.
Yeah.
You
Went to school.
Went to school, became
a person. Became a person.
And you decided to go back to acting.
Yeah.
Now, what was that shift like? Like when you decided, all right, now I can go back and do this. Like, what was that? What was the decision there?
When I quit, I was almost certain that I was not going to come back for whatever reason. I don't know what I was thinking in the moment, but I do remember that feeling of conviction of like, this is over. I was so tired. And at that time, I'd been working for 10 years. So it's like, and traveling all over the world and living all over the world, which is amazing. And I'm not discounting that, but I'm just saying that it became overwhelming. And I realized like, I'm a kid and I want to go home and play. Yeah. And I want to be with my brother and I want to be with my friends, and having a home was a novelty because my mom and I lived all over the world most of the year, and I didn't get to have friends and, all that kind of stuff. So went to school, thought I was going to dance, and I danced professionally for a while, became a teacher, did all of that sort of stuff. And then I don't know what it was, but it was just one morning I woke up and I was like, oh, I'm ready. Like, I'm ready to do this again.
When you felt that?
I think I was 17.
Really?
Something like that. I was just like, oh, yeah. No, I got it. Like I don't know if you have this. This is going to make me sound like a crazy person.
Don't worry, you're talking to me. You're already crazy.
Do you have that voice in your head ever that wakes you up in the middle of the night?
There's a singular, huh?
You got a couple? Rad. Yeah, okay. So you get it. It was like that. Like sitting up in the middle of the night and being like, oh, I have to go back.
Yeah.
This is not something that's like a job that I chose. Because I don't know.
You.
Yeah, because we watched Wizard of Oz the other day just for fun. And it was like, I hadn't seen that since I was really little. And I saw the moment that it hit for me. Watching that movie, I was like, oh, yeah, that was it. And I don't know where that comes from. That's the magic of it. Is like, this isn't just a job for me. It's like something that I have to do.
Yeah. So
when I was 17, it came back. Napoleon Dynamite was the first script that I read.
I was gonna ask you. I was like, "What was your first job in?" Because I remember Napoleon Dynamite. I was like, I remember looking. I was like, she had to have been in her teens.
Yeah.
So you were 17, 18 years old in that, huh?
Mm-hmm.
What a role to come back to, though, huh?
Well, what was so funny is that
it kind of matches your story, though. Like this kind of like these like quote unquote nerds, these outcasts.
Yeah.
And here you come in after this break to find yourself when you're playing like the ultimate outcast.
Yeah.
What a fucking great chain of events! I love that.
It was really interesting.
That movie's so much better for me now.
Really?
I love that. That is so great.
I read that script, and the moment that sold me was when Napoleon wants one of the pins. You know, like the campaign pins, and then he throws it down the hall. That was, I don't know why. That doesn't even have anything to do with Deb, by the way. Like, that was the moment that sold me on it. I was like, that's something I would do. But my team that was with me at the time, every single person was like, this is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever read. Like, why do you want to do this? And I was like, because it's funny. Like,
and it vibes.
There is just something about this. You can feel it when it's sort of similar to, I'm sure, when you're playing guitar and you stumble upon a melody and you're like, holy fuck, where did that come from? And there's that feeling that happens when you read The One. Really? It's like you have that feeling where you're like, I don't know, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to give into it, you know? And my agent and my manager at the time were just like, this is a fucking joke, man. Like, this is going to be a flop. This is so stupid. Yeah, you're going to make your big comeback. And I was like, first of all, you're the only people that are looking at it like that. Like, I wasn't really concerned with a comeback. It was like, I want to do the things that I never got to do as a kid. Like, I was a very serious actor as a kid, so they would never let me audition for comedies.
I noticed that in part of your biography, you talked about how when you were a kid, you were like, you specialized in very dramatic storylines. Mm-hmm. And I was like, fuck, that must have been traumatizing. I mean, you were
surprisingly not, but like, it's heavy.
But you wanted to kind of like break out of that idea that you were only.
I think just personality wise for me, if anybody tells me I'm one thing, I'll show them that I'm the other.
Rebel.
Yeah. So it's like everybody was telling me, oh, you can only be serious. And it was like,
Watch me play Deb.
Yeah. And watch me disappear into something where I won't even look like myself. Because it was more important for me to like show up as an actor than try to combat that.
Yeah.
What does she look like now? Because I didn't grow up, like I didn't go through my teenage years in front of the camera. It was like the last thing I did before that was Alice in Wonderland, where I look like a baby still.
Yeah.
And so it's, like, I'm not even going to play that game. Like, we're not going to try to do a 10 Things I Hate About You and like whatever, you know, where everybody, oh, look, they grew up and they're whatever. I wasn't going to play into that. So
Napoleon Dynamite wasn't just like, for us, as consumers, as the audience, like that was just the most ridiculous, funniest movie that touched all of our hearts.
yeah.
And I was reading actually a statement that you wrote about Napoleon Dynamite and how it was very much about like, it was much more than just this funny movie. It's about these kids that found their place
Yeah.
in the world, and no matter how small the world seemed.
Yeah.
And I remember, I think it's incredible. I think it's amazing. But to come back into that role and start a career based off that, because I don't mean start as in you didn't have a career, but like to basically
start a new one.
Start your new career based off that.
Yeah.
Is, I mean, that's amazing. Because you step in and basically play a character that kind of summarizes what you've gone through, what you've craved.
Yeah.
And the universe just gives you that. And then it's just considered this, quote unquote flop of a movie, but turns out to be this gem that everyone in the fucking world knows.
Yeah. It became like this weird juggernaut, like cult thing. But this is the shit that I'm talking about trying to get back to. Because even at that time period in my life, I feel like I was still pretty in touch with not caring so much about the noise.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't care that if it did well or not. Like, it was just about how it felt when I was with those boys in front of that camera playing that girl. Like, that was literally all it was about.
That felt great.
Oh my God, it felt so amazing. It rekindled my romance with my job. And to be honest, and I don't even think I've ever said this out loud, but like, Deb is who I think I am inside all the time. Like, that's how I feel around people I don't know. Because she's a very interesting confluence of like a couple of personalities. Like, she's super nerdy, obviously, but she doesn't think that. Like, she thinks that she's high fashion because that's what she likes. And she's shy, but around people that she knows, she's like this fierce, loyal friend who vocalizes her opinion and has no problem with it. So just, it was such a perfect time for me to grow up like that and to start things new playing her. Like, she's just one of my favorite characters I've ever played.
That's awesome. That is beautiful.
Because she, like, doesn't look anything like me, obviously. Doesn't dress like me. Doesn't walk like... Deb is also a voice. Like, I don't talk like Deb. I do the voice for Jer sometimes, which is really funny.
It's okay. But... Patrick Warburton lives up the street. And
really?
And he's in my gym all the time. And every time I see him, he does the Joe voice, and I die. I can't do it.
I mean... It's fun, though.
Yeah.
When you do characters like that, that's fun.
Yeah.
I love Napoleon. It was a great movie.
It was a great movie. So I mean, now I want to know, you did that movie. How soon was your next job after that?
Oh, like 6 weeks.
You jumped right back into it.
Yeah.
And what kind of character did you, what was your role after that?
The role after that was,
if you remember,
I think it was like a guest star on Without a Trace.
Okay.
And then I got Big Love on HBO, and then Veronica Mars. And then so it sort of like snowballed. Yeah. And I was really, again, within the industry, it was like, first I was typecast as this dramatic actress, and then after Napoleon, it's like, oh, she's a nerd. That's something that I still to this day battle, is like, we want her to come in and play this weird chick. And it's like, first of all, you're completely devaluing Deb, because that's not all she is. Second of all, I don't want to do that over and over again. But it's sort of, Napoleon definitely opened the doors for me again. Yeah. In a humongous way that I was not expecting. In a
healthy way, too, it seems.
Yeah.
Very much a Tina kind of way.
Yeah.
Wait, isn't Tina the name of the...
Llama.
Was that just coincidence?
Was it?
Was it?
That was the sign for me.
Was that?
I'm a person that I love signs, and I like listen to the whispers of the universe.
That was not the sign.
100%. Because I wasn't offered Napoleon. I
Yeah.
had to go audition for it. So I was reading the script and she was like, Tina, come get the food or whatever. Oh, that's Snappy's line. And I was like, Tina? You never hear the name Tina in like scripts ever. I was like, it's a sign.
I love it.
And then I went and read for it, and it was in literally a closet.
Really?
They had this tiny little room that was like next to where they make The Simpsons.
Wow.
It was their utility closet that we were using for auditions. And I came out and I told my mom, well, that was fun. I didn't get it, but that was fun. I genuinely thought I didn't get it.
What a beautiful success story for you, that movie, that whole like culture, what it did for the world, because it wasn't just funny.
No.
You know, how many kids out there felt weird, watched that movie, and all of a sudden became popular?
Oh, yeah.
People paid attention to them, you know?
Yeah.
One simple movie, it didn't even seem like it was a high budget movie. You know?
Oh, hell no. It was $300,000.
It was just great people playing great roles. Like, I mean, what a beautiful success story. I love that.
I love it too because so rarely it does something that has such a pure heart to it and a pure message
Really,
get hype like that. It was really fantastic, and it sort of rekindled my hope in humanity at that time, because I was like, oh, people do want to see good stuff, and people
Real.
do want to connect with good work.
So do you have a favorite role that you've ever played? And
No. I mean, I have roles that I love the most because they were the most challenging. They're just like, I rate them differently based on.
So most difficult role would be something that you kind of liked then?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So do you have the most difficult role you ever played?
This is going to sound nuts, but the most difficult role I've ever played was in Pink's music video.
Pink? What? I don't know.
Oh, you're going to have to watch it.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
What was it?
It was her video for Fucking Perfect, and it's the most challenging thing for so many different reasons for me. Like, it was the first time that I had ever sort of been sexualized on camera, which was really weird.
You crossed kind of like somewhat of a barrier that you didn't, you know.
Yeah, I love that people don't think of it like that, you know, because I wasn't naked to be naked. It was, you'll watch it and you'll see.
Okay.
It doesn't show anything, by the way. But just the prospect of that, of not being super comfortable within my own sexuality, and then having to play this part, and then fake doing drugs. I'd never done that in a film or anything before. Like, being edgier, it kind of opened this whole side of myself that I never paid attention to before. And that's always what's interesting about the work as well for me, is that historically, whatever I'm doing at work sort of has a way of bleeding into my real life and vice versa. So it's sort of like wherever I'm at emotionally or on the path
Will determine my roles.
Yeah, just what comes to you.
That's so cool to me, though. I think that is so fucking cool.
It's weird.
Because, I mean, I'm speaking as purely a fan, as a consumer, as an audience member. When I think actor, I think they can just jump into a role because they're a good actor.
Yeah.
They're a great actress, so they can just play this role because they figure it out.
Yeah.
And, like, talking to you, this insight is basically saying, like, there's so much more than just being good at acting or pretending, whatever you want to call it. Like, this is where I am in my life. I'm able to play these roles. Like, what a beautiful fucking thing. Like, that's incredible. It's going to make me look at things very differently now.
I hope it doesn't ruin it for you.
No, it's going to make it even better, because, like, you watch a character, someone play a character that they're so great at.
Yeah.
I wonder what they are dealing with while they're playing this character that allowed them to be this great at it.
Yeah.
You know, that's fucking a chunk to that.
Yeah, because there's a part of it where a lot of, like, when people say, oh, did you enjoy doing this movie or something? Part of the recap for me that a lot of people don't understand is, like, first of all, what it took to get to that place where you were even capable of being able to act in that role, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're looking back on the piece of work, it's not like I watched the movie without any experience personally making it. So it's like, there's a movie that people really love that you do, and then they're like, oh my God, that had to be so fun to do. And you're like, well, emotionally it was difficult. Also, like, I was going through a bad breakup, or whatever the fuck is going on in your real life. The experience is so different behind the scenes that a lot of the time I don't even, like, share a lot of that, just because I want people to again, enjoy the piece and not have me dump all of my personal experience onto it, you know?
I like what you're saying though, because like I want you to, and you don't have to share everything, but I really want to. What is something the audience should know? What does the audience need to know about this? Like if you could look at the audience and not have to worry about, you know, them judging you or you getting in trouble for saying something or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you wanted them to know outside of the roles that we play as actors and actresses.
Yeah.
What does the audience need to know about behind the scenes, about what goes into it? Like, do they need to know more about how much work it takes? Do they need to know how much of a mental toll it takes? Do they need to know nothing? You know, what is something that you wish the audience knew?
Oh my God, that's such a good question.
Wow. That's mostly for me.
That's mostly for you? Damn, you've hit
else.
Me with two now that I've never been asked before. There's so much. Like, on the one hand, I feel like the less people know about actors, the better, because I feel that mystery coming back a little bit more would make people enjoy movies more and maybe look at it more as a piece of art and work and entertainment, and not so much like
that guy did this, so why would I watch his movie?
I watched him on TMZ do whatever, or you know, I
follow hating on the Mission Impossible movies because Tom Cruise is weird to people.
Yeah,
I'm like, it's Mission Impossible. Have you seen these movies?
Did you see Fallout, dude?
Have you seen these movies? Shut your mouth and watch a movie.
I loved the last one.
I loved all of them.
Me too. But
the last one was like
absurd. Right?
It was absurd. I wasn't ready for it. I was
Me
like,
neither.
There's no way. I was like, there's no way they can do this many and he can pull it off that well. He did it.
And he did it. It's crazy, right?
He fucking did it. Just
he's a beast.
He's my cousin Brandon works at a prototyping factory with CNC machines, and they do a lot of stuff for like SpaceX and, you know,
oh cool, love that.
Aerospace engineering and stuff. But for a while they made a lot of their big jobs, did movies, and they did the bubble ship from Oblivion. And the gun.
No way.
They did all those props. They built the Batmobile, I think, for
cool.
Christian Bale at one point. They did like some of the stuff, or it was for the new one, the Ben Affleck. They did a ton of stuff. But anyway, when they what? Yeah, I know, right? Uh-huh. But he was telling me when he built the bubble ship, because Tom Cruise is not the tallest or, you know, person in the world.
Yeah.
He had to come in and they had to build it around him, kind of like fit him.
Really?
And I loved hearing that, because he said, he's like, Tom Cruise is like the nicest human being I've ever met. He said he was super clean cut. He was very straight up. He just seemed like a normal guy. He's really easy to work with.
Yeah.
And I was like, see, people are people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So I asked, I was like, you know, something the audience needs to know. Like, what's something the audience should know? Because I feel like everyone's so quick to judge someone based off what the media or something people say about them is. But you guys are out there working your asses off.
Yeah.
Making these incredible, you're making experiences.
Yeah.
That we can just keep having. Whatever, boom, I get to have that experience.
Yeah.
That's unfucking touchable. That's incredible. You guys are out there making that for us, but you're experiencing it on a whole nother level because you're still human doing that.
Yeah.
So what's something like we need to know about that? I mean, other than that.
I think that it's sort of a good rule of thumb just in life in general, is that you have no idea what is going on in other people's lives, and to really try to reel in the snap judgment and the, you know, the bad kind of storytelling. Because, I mean, there are so many misconceptions about what I do and me as an actress and like what that must mean. And I talk about this a lot with my friends. Like, you don't realize that you don't get the privilege of giving a first impression after a certain point, because once you're on Google, you know what I mean? It's like people, it's open to whatever they think. And so whenever you're meeting someone, it's not like they're meeting me as a person. They're meeting who they think that I am. Yeah. And their preconceived ideas of like, is she bitchy because she's an actress? Is, you know, and trust me, I've had horrendous experiences where I've met some of the people that I really like their work, and I'm so bummed that I did, because they're just poopy people. But I think to just understand that even if people reach a certain level of success, it is so hard to keep going and keep creating work. And like, it does take a lot of commitment and time and sacrifice. It looks very glamorous and easy on the outside, and it is Absolutely not. Like, it does not look remotely as shiny as it does when things are packaged.
Yeah.
They're packaged that way for a reason, you know, to make you want to go there and see that and do, you know, whatever. But there are hundreds and hundreds of people that show up to that job every day to make it look like that, and it is not easy. And my job definitely isn't easy. There are peaks and valleys, and you gotta learn to keep trucking along. You know? Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing that. I think as easy as easy as that is to like tell yourself like, oh yeah, everyone like try to be considerate. No, it's not done a lot.
Yeah.
It's not done a lot. You know?
Well, and I think that it's easy for people. There is that climate now where people love to build humans up to watch them fall down. So that's not, you know, that's sort of the culture that we're in right now.
Funny, Dave Chappelle did a whole spiel on that in his new Netflix series.
Yeah.
Special.
But it's like understanding that when things look easy and you're pertaining to art of any kind, you know, if you're watching an actor, if you're listening to music, if, you know, you're just like, oh, well, that comes easy to that person. It comes easy now. It took a shit ton of work to get there, and they're doing their job right if they make it look easy. Doesn't mean that it is. It never means that it is. There are a couple of freaks that are just born like hyper talented that can do things in their sleep, you know, and that's incredible. But for the rest of the community, it doesn't work like that. And you have to, I would say, have a little bit more respect for what people do, what they're committing their lives to doing.
Yeah.
You know?
And base your opinions off what you actually, you know, see if you get to meet them. If not, don't have one.
Just appreciate their work and move on with your day. If it affects you, great. If it doesn't, move on.
Yeah.
But you don't know who these people are as human beings. And I think that there's far too much of the, you know, putting people on a pedestal because of things that they post on Instagram. And it's like, okay, but at the same time, like, what if you met them in real life and they're not as polished as that? Does that mean that now all of their work sucks to you? It's very difficult, that whole relationship. But I would just say in general, understand that if anything looks easy, a lot of work has gone into that.
I like that. Good rule of thumb.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Before we go,
Yeah.
I have 2 questions for you.
Okay.
Nothing too hard.
I'm scared. Okay.
You shouldn't be. I asked the hard ones. I asked the hard ones.
You did ask some hard ones. This is good.
I want to know, you're incredibly successful. You're doing it. You know, you're not an aspiring actress. You are an actress. You're a working actress. You're kicking ass. You're famous. You got all, you know, you're doing all this great stuff. You're doing what you love. You're achieving your dream, and you want more of that, or whatever that may be. What does your future look like? What is, for you, your ideal future? Are you doing this till the day you die? Are you slowing down and retiring and doing something else? What is your ideal future?
This isn't a hard question.
It's not. You get to dream. There's no limits. You can
Dreaming is
You
free.
can literally say, I'm going to grow wings in 10 minutes and fly the fuck away.
That would be cool.
That would be kind of cool. It'd be in the way, but it'd be cool.
Yeah. I would say right now, I'm doing this till I can't. But there are so many other things that I want to do. I really want to direct. I've been writing for a really long time. I want to do something with that. I really want to make music. Want to get over my stage fright. I really want to be in a musical.
Hell yeah.
I want to do that. Like, maybe not on stage in a movie musical. That's great. But I just want to be creative in every way that I can be. And I want to get better at things that I suck at. Because that's been a big thing, too, is trying not to get too comfortable in what I'm using air quotes, but what I've mastered.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because that's the thing about that last question you asked me. When people are watching things, like, you have no idea how long it takes you to be able to find your light, know where the camera is at all times without looking at it, hit your mark, remember your lines, have some emotions, connect with a person, like all of that sort of stuff takes such a long time to make it second nature. Like, I want to do that. I want to have that level of passion and commitment to learn that about something else within the industry still, but like, I want it to scare me.
Nice.
Yeah.
how you know it's going to be good.
Yeah, for real. Like, I still get butterflies every time. Oh, man. Every time the camera, they yell rolling. And you're just like, holy shit. Like, it's about to happen. Like, I still get that feeling. But I want to question if I'm good enough. And get there. That's what I want.
You want to experience a whole new growth.
Yeah. Whether that's a different kind of role, great. But I just think over the course of the rest of my life, I really want to, like, expand into other aspects of storytelling.
True creative. I love it. Let's rock and roll.
Sweet.
All right, so last question. This one's not hard. I promise this one's not hard.
Okay.
It's not supposed to be easy or hard. They're just, it's me being curious.
Yeah.
But I ask all my guests at the end of the episode, what are your top 3 pieces of advice for someone young trying to become an actor, actress, whatever? Is that hard? Is that what? I'm just, you know what?
No,
Next question.
This is what I love is that, like, these are the kinds of questions I've always wanted to be asked. This is great. Well, I'm just laughing because to you it's not like a hard question, but these are really deep, and I love that.
That'd be a fucking hard question for me.
They're
great.
They're great. 3 pieces of advice for somebody that wants to become an actor. This is tough for me, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't believe that. Let's say I had kids. Okay. My kids are not acting until they're 18. It's not happening.
Okay.
Like, I don't think at this point in my life, I may change my mind. I don't know. But it's not for kids. You know what I mean? It's like, I would want.
What about the years of training?
Do theater, study, watch movies, write, do whatever you want. You should not be on set trying to kill it before you're 18.
Okay.
You have to have, like, a real life, and it's hard. And there's so much rejection. I feel like 98% of my life is being told no. You know, you get used to it, but at the same time, is that something that you want a young person to get used to? Maybe. I don't know. But I just feel like the last person that came and asked me, like, what do you think I should do? You know, how can I become an actor? Or what should I do? I was like, think of another job.
I've asked this question to a lot of people. A lot of people say, just don't do this job.
Yeah, because I think that if you've experienced it, like, obviously we're talking about the highlights of the job.
Yeah.
We're not diving into the bullshit and the heartbreak and the pain and the rejection and
Which I would like to. If you'd like to come back on.
Yeah, I would do that.
I feel like that's a very important
part
of
hell
this.
yeah. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, those are not the sexy aspects of the job, and people don't normally talk about that. So when a kid comes to me and says, like, I want to do this, I would say, you study the shit out of everything that you can. You know, the great thing about where we are at technologically at this time is that you have YouTube. Mm-hmm. You have the internet. You have access to so much information that you can educate yourself better than any school can.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
fully agree.
Immerse yourself in that and be obsessed with it, and that's fine. If you can wait to do it until you're older and you are still in love with it after you have all this information and all of that dumped on you, then God bless. Yeah. You know, but it's not cute. Like, to me, it's like when people talk about marriage and kids or whatever, like, it's not a cute thing. It's a real thing.
Very serious, real fucking thing.
Yeah. And it means something.
Yeah.
So don't treat it like it doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, take it seriously and understand that it's really fucking hard, and it's not for the weak at all. You know, sometimes I think that it's not even for me. And I think that I'm pretty tough, but, like, it's hard.
Yeah.
The other thing is, I don't know if I could give 3 pieces of advice.
You don't have to. I said 3. Open-ended question.
Like,
that was a pretty damn good one.
Okay. The educating yourself, like, I think that's a really important piece, because I know that school isn't for everyone. School definitely wasn't for me. I went for 3 years and dropped out before I graduated. And I've never stopped educating myself, though. And I just follow what interests me. And I always tell young people that too. It's like, if you love movies, learn everything that you can about directors. Go start taking pictures, learn what framing is, do all of that sort of stuff.
Yeah. But wait till you can make you're old enough to make a real decision.
Legally, yeah.
Legally.
Because I feel that I'm just so against parents putting their kids into, because the kids are cute or whatever. It's just like, well, you're going to be using all that money for therapy for the kid if you're not careful. It's just a really tricky landscape to navigate.
Interesting.
Yeah, especially now. I feel like maybe it's worse now than when I was coming up.
Because, I mean, when you were growing up, you were a kid and you had your parents taking you to places and you were just exposed to the kids around you.
Yeah.
Now this kid shows up to an audition. He's freaking 6 years old and he's got an Instagram. Not only is all the other kids in the freaking room looking at him like he's a piece of crap, but now he's on Instagram and already feeling even worse. You know?
Yeah. I think you have to build self-esteem.
Yeah, you have to care about yourself. Before you do
that. Because...
Well, I mean, think about it. It's acting. You're diving into a different persona. Like, there has to be a persona to start. You have to have somewhere to start.
You have to have a foundation.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm not even...
pour from an empty cup.
Yeah. It's just... Otherwise, every role that you do, you will literally become. So you'll just have, like, 6 months where you're like, I'm really into cars.
That's horrifying.
It's true, though. It happens a lot.
I don't doubt it. I mean, that thought scares the shit out of me.
Yeah. But that's how, I mean, this is why I'm saying wait until you're an adult, is because also in those formative years, you're developing and you are incredibly, I don't care if you don't think that you are so easily influenced.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I remember being 18, 17, 14, all those times, I thought I knew everything.
Yeah.
And I was like, no one can influence me. And then all of a sudden, you're wearing a tube top inexplicably. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely.
It's like, when it comes to that business for me, that's my piece of advice. Just wait. You have the rest of your life to be a grown up and be told no and berated and celebrated and all the good stuff too. I'm just saying, like, give it a minute.
Well, I definitely have to have you back on. I'd love to dive into the darker side of things.
Oh, sweet.
If you're interested.
Yeah, I'm interested.
Now that we've covered this, we can go to the next step.
Okay.
Take this to the next level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, any last words, Tina?
Thanks for having me, Ike.
Thanks for coming on.
I like your mics.
I love my mics. Thank you. I'm so proud of these mics.
They're really cool.
I've talked about them multiple times on this show. I'm not going to lie.
Because they're dope, dude.
I love these things.
They're really neat.
Well, rock and roll. Peace out.
Next, dude.
Next.